Have you ever walked into a room and felt the energy shift? Nobody said anything. You didn't raise your voice. You didn't try to prove a single thing. But somehow people got quieter, more careful, almost nervous. If that sounds familiar, you're not imagining it. Psychologists have a name for what's happening in that moment. It's called high-value energy. And here's the strange part. It has nothing to do with being loud, aggressive, or trying to dominate a room. In fact, it's almost always the opposite. It's a quiet, invisible signal your nervous system sends out, and other people's brains pick it up before their conscious mind even understands why. Here's what makes this so interesting. High-value energy isn't something you can fake with a firm handshake or a confident tone of voice for 5 minutes. It leaks out in the small, unconscious things. The things you don't think about, the things nobody coaches you on. Which means if you have it, you probably didn't even choose it. You just stopped needing certain things from other people. And that absence of need is exactly what other people notice first. Today, we're breaking down 7 signs you carry this energy, often without even realizing it. Stay until sign number 7, because it's the one most people mistake for a weakness, when it's actually the loudest signal of all. The first sign is simple, but it separates high-value people from everyone else instantly. You don't chase approval. When you walk into a room, you're not scanning faces to see if people like you. You're not performing. You're not adjusting your personality in real time to win people over. And to someone who has built their entire identity around being liked, that's deeply unsettling. Here's why. Most people operate from a subtle, subconscious need for external validation. It shapes how they talk, how they dress, even how they laugh. When they meet someone who clearly doesn't need that approval to feel secure, it breaks the social script they're used to. They don't know how to read you because you're not asking to be read. That discomfort isn't about you, it's a mirror, and weak people don't like what they see in it. Sign number 2, you're completely at ease with silence. Most people rush to fill every quiet moment. Small talk, nervous laughter, filler words. All of it exists to relieve social anxiety. But if you can sit in a pause, hold eye contact, and let a silence stretch without flinching, you're sending a message most people can't consciously name. I don't need to perform to feel secure right now. Psychologically, silence is one of the most powerful and most uncomfortable tools in human interaction. It forces the other person to sit with their own thoughts, their own insecurities, without distraction. For someone who's used to noise filling every gap, that silence can feel like pressure, like exposure. You're not doing anything to them. You're simply not rescuing them from the discomfort of stillness, and that alone can feel intimidating to someone who's never learned how to be still. The third sign, you stay calm when everyone else is spiraling. Something goes wrong. Plans fall apart. Tension rises in the room. And while everyone else is reacting, raising their voice, panicking, looking for someone to blame, you stay level. Not cold, not detached, just steady. This is what psychologists call emotional regulation, and it's rarer than most people think. Our brains are wired to mirror the emotional state of the people around us. It's called emotional contagion. When you refuse to be pulled into chaos, you break that chain reaction. And to people who rely on drama to feel in control, your calm can feel like a challenge. Like you know something they don't. In reality, you're not trying to outshine anyone. You've just learned that panic never solved a problem faster than a clear head did. And ironically, the less you react, the more people start watching you for cues on how to feel. That's not something you asked for. It's just what happens when everyone else is looking for an anchor, and you happen to be the steadiest thing in the room. Sign 4. When you say no, you don't over-explain it. Weak boundaries sound like justification. Strong ones sound like simple statements of fact. If you can say, that doesn't work for me without following it up with 3 paragraphs of guilt-driven reasoning, you're operating from a place most people never reach. The belief that your decisions don't require a permission slip. This unsettles people who are used to negotiating, guilt-tripping, or wearing others down until they get a yes. When you don't take the bait, when you don't cave under the awkward silence that follows a boundary, it removes their leverage entirely. And people who are used to having leverage over others don't know what to do when it suddenly disappears. You're not being harsh. You're just no longer available for the old game. The 5th sign, What people think of you simply doesn't run your internal operating system. This doesn't mean you're careless or cold toward others. It means your sense of self isn't constructed from outside approval. You can hear criticism, even harsh criticism, and instead of spiraling into self-doubt, you simply consider it. Take what's useful. Let the rest go. For people who define themselves through the opinions of others, this is almost incomprehensible. Their whole identity is a mosaic built from what other people say about them. So when they try to provoke a reaction out of you, through gossip, through subtle jabs, through testing your ego, and get nothing back, it's disorienting. You're not playing a game they know the rules to. And nothing is more unsettling to someone seeking control than someone who was never asking to be controlled. Sign number 6. In most conversations, you're not the loudest voice in the room. You're the most present one. You ask questions. You actually listen to the answers. You don't interrupt to insert your own story or one-up someone else's experience. This might look like modesty on the surface. But underneath, it's something far more powerful. The confidence to not need constant attention to feel significant. Here's the twist. People who talk the most in a room are often the ones most desperate to be noticed. When you sit back, genuinely engaged, but not competing for airtime, it flips the dynamic. Suddenly, the person who's used to dominating conversations realizes they're working harder for attention than you are. And that imbalance, it makes them uneasy because it exposes exactly how much effort they were putting into being seen. And that brings us to sign number 7, the one most people misread completely. You don't feel the need to prove yourself. Not your intelligence, not your success, not your worth. Even in a room full of people trying to outshine each other, you're simply not participating in that competition. People often mistake this for arrogance, or worse, for not caring. But it's the opposite. It takes a deep, settled sense of self to walk away from a fight nobody actually needed to have. Weak energy needs an audience to confirm it's real. High-value energy doesn't, because it was never in question to begin with. And that's exactly what makes people around you uneasy. In a world where almost everyone is performing, quietly, subtly, constantly, someone who isn't performing at all stands out. It doesn't just stand out, it exposes the performance for what it is. So, if you recognized yourself in 2, 3, maybe all 7 of these signs, here's what we want you to understand. This isn't about being better than anyone else. It was never a competition. High-value energy isn't built by trying to intimidate people. It's simply what happens when you stop outsourcing your sense of self to everyone around you. The people who feel threatened by it were never actually reacting to you. They were reacting to a version of themselves they haven't made peace with yet. And that's the part worth sitting with. You don't need to soften yourself to make insecure people comfortable, and you don't need to apologize for a calm you worked hard to build. The goal was never to make anyone nervous, it was just to stop needing their permission to feel whole. Let us know in the comments. Which of these 7 signs hit closest to home for you? And if this video gave you a little more clarity today, make sure you're subscribed, because we break down the psychology of who you really are every single week. Watch, reflect, level up your mind. We'll see you in the next one.